Good morning and happy Sunday. Right here on the upper deck. I'm Lynn. I'm here with Ciarra, and it's not a rubber game day. But you know what? Since we already lost the series, let's give it to the Pirates. I think we're feeling a little generous today. Now that we own the East, and now that we have the best record in the AL. How you doing, Ciarra? What are your thoughts?
Yeah,
Opening up.
good morning. We can give it to the Pirates. Let our starters rest. I don't really care at this point because guess what? The American League has to run through the Bronx for the playoffs. Shout out to the Guardians for losing. Shout out to Houston for helping us out. I don't even care that we didn't win to get that number one seed, but we are the number one seed, and that's all that matters at this point. Um, I'm super excited for October. It feels like I know it's only been 2 years, but it just feels like it's been a really, really long time since we've been there. So I'm very excited for us to get going.
It's been a slog, and this whole season has felt like, dragging metal, junk metal through mud to get here. Started off so great, but then it just became a slog. And to land where we are, like you said, it doesn't matter how you get there; it's how you finish, and the rest is up to the team. We're here, and home field advantage all the way through. So let's get all the way through. You got the first seed. Better take advantage of it. Better take that seed. Better plant it right now, and it better grow into a World Series trophy. I want to say good morning to our our early birds, Jonathan, Michael, Egyptian magician. Hey, Jared, John, the Beagle Dad. And I see, hey, Gregory, good to see you. Evan, good morning to you. And John's coming in. John's coming in hot with the Bombers have no juice. Okay, we're gonna take what we're gonna pick up what you throw down there, John. And but we suck at home field. Okay, John, we're gonna have a conversation. Thanks for the content. And and Lou, good morning to you. So before we go into the things, let's throw up Elliot Spencer's trivia question of the week, and he's ending hard. I mean, this is you really have to be a baseball historian like Spencer to even have a clue. So I'm gonna say go ahead and Google if you need to, because so anyway, today, September 29th, 2024, is the last game of the 2024 season for the New York Yankees. October 5th, oops, 1912, my mistake. 1912. Everyone hear that? Oops, 1912 was the last game for the New York Highlanders for the season, and their name, as they officially became the New York Yankees the following season. The Highlanders won against the Washington Nationals with a score of 8-6. Here's what Spencer wants to know. Who was the last batter for the New York Highlanders in that game in 1912? October 5th, 1912. Yeah, Jared, 1912, not even 2012. Um, I had to correct it. So it's even worse, Jared. It's 1912. I should not be doing these things late at night. But there you have it. And no one's going to get the answer anyway. I have it. But Jared, thank you. Okay, gotcha. You were riding along and joking about it. Gotcha. Well, that was a bad error on my part, but we've seen some really bad errors all season, not just here on the show, but on the field. So I'm going to forgive myself. Anyway, I'll give you guys the answer, and you could be the king of trivia night at any pub in the world. When I give you the answer at the end, you can put it in your pocket then, because if you know, I'm going to mail you something. All right. So, and Eunice is here. Eunice joined us while we were going through that. All right. So, where do you want to start? So much, Ciarra. You pick.
Well, first of all, I graduated high school in 2012, so I definitely knew that was an error when I read it because I was like, that doesn't make any sense. But
There were no New York Highlanders then.
that's funny. But I'm gonna need was it John that was being a little negative? I'm gonna need him
Yep.
to tone it down a little bit. John, we not only do we own the East, but we own the American League right now. Okay, like the sports writers, the journalists, the beat writers, all of those guys said we weren't going to win 70 games this season. We own the freaking American League. Okay? That is huge. We have Soto and Judge having career years at this point. And Stanton, who missed a month of baseball, is still better than half of the league. Could you imagine if he didn't go down for a month, what his numbers would be today?
Oh my God.
Instantly would be comeback player of the year because there's no way. Um, honestly, I don't have anything to be negative about today. Even with the Soto base running blunders and Dominguez's bad defense, like I cannot be upset about anything today because even if we lose 27-0 today, I know that we're sitting pretty for October 5th. And there's nothing that can bring me down.
And John's saying, I want to be wrong. I want to be wrong. John, you're going to get what you wish for because you're wrong. We're going to stamp that receipt right now. And hey, Spencer, see that you joined us. Thanks for the question, which I totally screwed up and put 2012 on the screen. But everyone's clear it's 1912. I've given everyone permission to Google because that's the hardest question you've ever laid down, Spencer. So, and yeah, Jared, I think I don't know if there's anyone in the chat, and certainly not me, who isn't nervous about the postseason. I mean, because it's been forever, right? Like Ciarra was saying at the beginning, it's only been a few years since we've been in it, but it feels like forever. And 2009 is like in my head, running circles and then making my stomach turn. So it has been a long time, and it's kind of new to us. It's been so long since we've been able to have this feeling, right? So, oh, and Jared's asking an interesting question: who would you guys rather play, the Orioles or the Tigers?
So selfishly, I want the Tigers because I'm 5 hours from Detroit, and I could drive up there for some postseason baseball. But I don't really care. I'm not afraid of anybody when it comes to the postseason this year. I'm not afraid of I have so much faith in the Yankees right now. I haven't felt this good about them in a long time.
Same, and I think the bats have been discouraging. Some of the ins and outs, ups and downs of the team have been upsetting. But I agree. I think this is the postseason where they're going to just light up, and we're not just going to see, like we said all season. Oh, you just wait for Stanton is the postseason man. I think it's Stanton's going to be sharing that description, because I think some of the ones that have been a little bit sleepy, especially this last month or so, they're going to be woke. And
Yeah.
so Lou's saying he'd rather see the O's, and Jared's saying the Tigers are more threatening. I'm still smarting from when we faced the Tigers during the season, so um, I feel like we have um more experience with the Orioles this season than the Tigers, and yet the Tigers have been so hot that I wonder if they're about to fizzle, postseason juice in them or not. So I don't know. Do you have a side to lay on there, Ciarra?
The only thing when it comes to the Orioles is the Orioles play really good baseball whenever they play us. Like they just played probably the worst 60 days of baseball they've ever played, and they came into the Bronx and lit us up for 2 games, right? And not only that, we are 50. We finished at exactly 500, 26 and 26 in the AL East. For whatever reason, when we play teams from the AL East, we play the worst baseball we possibly can. So not that I'm scared, because I'm not scared of anybody, but we probably would play better against the Tigers.
Okay. Well, let's hope whoever it ends up being, we got to be better than we were with both of those teams during the season.
Yeah.
Eli, it's been like a minute since we've seen you here. So good morning to you. And Eunice is telling us it's back to 0 in the postseason.
Yeah.
So Right. Let's kill a rally by hitting first pitch. That would be
Oh my
Volpe and
God.
Verdugo.
Yes.
Thank you.
Jazz
Um,
does it too sometimes, and it drives me crazy.
right. It's just it's a pet peeve of mine as well, and it's you got to have that patience at the plate. I mean, isn't that like as fundamental as fundamentals get? Like
Yeah.
take the first pitch. You have 3 chances. Um, so 100% agree with that. Let's go right to let's start with the negatives, and then we'll work our way up to getting hot. So let's talk about the doghouse, because look, face it, we're kings of the hill right now, but there's some still doggy dog stuff going on. The house
Yeah.
is pretty crowded.
Well, it's really hard to be negative this week, but I will say this. I'm super concerned about the pitching. And not all of the pitching, but specifically Marcus Stroman. So, and that hurts me to say this because I have been on the Marcus Stroman train all season.
Yeah.
Um, but right now pitchers with 130 plus innings, Stroman has the fourth highest whip. He is giving up too many walks and too many hits. And when you take Stroman's ground ball pitching and combine it with our bad infield defense between Volpe and Glaber, it's not a good mix. And when he came out of the bullpen the other night, he didn't look very good. So he is very much in the doghouse for me right now. And I'm going to follow that up and say that, and this might be contradictory because he's had a pretty good season, right? Carlos Rodon is also in the doghouse for me, and I just need you guys to hear me out. I am concerned that the home runs that he likes to give up when it's a close game in the 6th inning is going to come back and bite us in the ass. He has given up 31 home runs this season, and he's hit over 10 batters. He's the first Yankees pitcher to do this since Randy Johnson in 2005. And while his ERA is good and he's looked good since his temper tantrums, I am just worried, because like you guys have all said in the chat, postseason baseball is totally different. So I don't want it to be a 0-0 game, 2 outs. Rodon gives up a home run, right? And then we can't come back from that. That's scary to think about.
And all of that can't be denied. And I think he even has the highest number of home runs given up this year. If not the MLB, the AL. So, but at the same time, when comparatively speaking, I'm just going to say that, he had 32 starts this season, and to finish with the, barely under 4 ERA, but just there, in terms of how far he had to come back, he did come most of the way back. But everything you said is fact, and he does belong there, and everyone is putting up the same thing in there. So in the doghouse for me, and really, it's not his whole body. It's maybe his lower torso. I'm gonna put in doghouse, because that's where the legs are. And Soto, come on. I don't know if you've been hanging out with Glaber too much. Sorry, Ciarra. But that base running twice, man. I mean, you cost us runs and the game, and just so unexpected from Soto. And so key it back a little bit if this is the thing, and you're getting worked up. But I didn't like that. So it's probably the only time I'm gonna have a chance to put him in there. So I'm squeezing him in there a little bit. Um, and then let's talk about Dominguez. I do dare to talk about the Martian. So the Dominguez just cannot be the postseason guy. Um, all I know the issues with Verdugo, and understand all that offensively, but he's not ready yet. Not just because he's not in his natural position, but I just think that the bat has been tepid. We're certainly not seeing those Martian launches we were promised. So where's the power at the plate? As well as he's just not comfortable in left field. So why would we make him the left fielder in the postseason?
Yeah. So here's my opinion on Dominguez, and people can take it or leave it. And before I even say this, I wish that Yankees fans would stop with the Yankee fan and Yankee fan crime. You're entitled to your own opinion when it comes to any player on the team, and everyone deserves equal criticism when they're not playing well, right? So if I get called an idiot or whatever for this, so be it. Dominguez is not ready to be on the postseason roster at this point, in my opinion.
Yep.
And I
And
understand that Yankees fans, sorry.
go.
I understand that we as Yankees fans see that he's not maybe playing his true position, but as an outfielder in at the major league level, you should be able to catch a routine fly ball. It would be different too if he was putting up like crazy numbers at the plate, but he's not. Like we were promised these big, big things, and it's not his fault, right? He's just a kid. He's going to have a great season, or not a great season, I'm sorry, a great career with the
Yep,
Yankees moving forward. I have no doubt about that.
that's
But
right.
I truly believe we tried to rush this kid back from 2 injuries. And maybe he's in his own head. I'm not sure, but he's not ready to be in the outfield come postseason.
Yeah. And it's all of that is true. And there's folks in the chat saying that he's been, okay out there. Okay is not it. Oh, okay is not what you need in the postseason. And Jared, that's like the $83,100 million question.
Well,
Um,
here's the thing with Verdugo, and I am not the biggest fan of Verdugo, right? I've probably been the hardest on him since the All-Star break. He's been terrible at the plate. He's a rally killer. Like I don't know what the guy is doing, but he has excellent defense in left field. And if you look back at what we had last year with Bowers, McKinney, my go IKF, like you compare Verdugo to that, and Verdugo is the answer for defense. It's really hard because can we take the little bit of production Dominguez is giving us at the plate and take Verdugo's defense and combine them together somehow? Like, can we do like a mad science experiment? Unfortunately, no. So it's, right now, the answer is Verdugo, right? Like we have to think of these scenarios. And I know that we've been pushing for these young guys and we've been pushing for Dominguez, but it's not his time yet. And if he's someone who wants to win and someone who wants to be a part of a winning franchise moving forward, I think he would understand.
Yeah, and I think actually, if I was a 21-year-old kid facing like the biggest highest stakes level, it's hard enough coming up and being a Yankees. Now you're a Yankee entering the postseason. That's a lot for a kid to handle. It's a lot for these veterans to handle. So, I agree. And like we said, and we've been saying, we can't mesh them together into one, person. And you know if we keep Dominguez in the outfield, we're potentially losing runs because of missed catches, and maybe those could be made up easier with the bats that we have, ready to come back and bring the score back up if we get in a deficit. But an Egyptian magician is saying he'd rather lose with Domingo than a Dominguez. But we want to win. And that's what we're talking about here. And I guess we're split here in the chat. And Frank and Dev, good morning, saw you come in. um and you're absolutely right, Lou. It's either the better bat or the better defender. We just don't have both right now.
And
um
I think we need, with how bad the Yankees defense in general has been, we need the defense, right? Because if we can't rely on our infield or our catchers, we need to be able to rely on our outfield. And, there's times when Soto doesn't play the best defense in the outfield either. So now you put Dominguez and Soto out there and you're leaving Judge alone on an island, and that's not fair to the guy who has had the best season of his career. And even though it's going unnoticed, has probably played Gold Glove center field this season, right? He's played very well both sides of the ball. So we should give him the best outfield around him because he should win a World Series, right?
yes.
And that's just how I feel about it. That's no hate to Dominguez. Like I said, I think he's going to have a great career for the Yankees moving forward. But maybe this just isn't his time at this moment. Like we have to win in 2024 before we even start thinking about 2025.
Eli, I think you're missing a few games and a few innings. It's been more than one play for Dominguez, but just so you know. And yeah, to Mazza, hey Mazza, to your point, Verdugo does, that matters. That postseason experience matters. And the other thing that came with Doogie's reputation is that, just like I'm always saying about Stanton, hey, he's good in those tough, those tense, high level situations. He was good for the postseason for the Sox, and that he could handle it better.
Yeah.
So and who else is in the doghouse? We'll move on from Dominguez because we have a split. We have a split court there.
Here's me again making up my own rules for the doghouse. I'm putting the MLB Twitter admin in the doghouse because why do they hate the New York Yankees? Like everything the Dodgers do, it's chef's kiss. But the Yankees get nothing from them. They can't wait to celebrate the downfall when the Yankees mess up. Like all I saw last night was everyone talking about Judge and his 5 freaking strikeouts. Okay, I don't care about his 5 strikeouts. Okay, look at what he's done all season long, and then come back and talk to me. He can have one bad game, especially against Paul freaking Skeens, who is like the filthiest pitcher I've probably seen in my lifetime at this point. Also, I'm sick of, and I know I said this last week, I'm sick of the Ohtani glazing, okay? Congratulations on the base stealing, but the bases are bigger now. It's harder for the pitchers to pick you off with 20 seconds. Like, let's be realistic, okay? How about we celebrate Jazz Chisholm and his 40 stolen bases? Did you guys even know that he was close to 40 stolen bases? Because I didn't.
Nope,
when he said it, I was like, oh, okay, that's great, Jazz. Like, let's celebrate because give him that base. Let him take it home. But yeah, I'm just kind of over the MLB Twitter.
Yep, and Jared said, "Yep, MLB is all over Ohtani's balls." You got that right. And I'm loath to open up the Ohtani door all the way. But agreed. And he is not the second coming of anyone. And so yeah, he was a sensation and a unique kind of player, and he broke a record that never existed. So great. I don't care if well, season's over, but yeah, he's just not it. And looking forward to. I hope we get to the end, and I hope it's against the Dodgers.
I don't want to play the Dodgers. I don't want them to make the World Series because I want the MLB to just choke on it. Like the Dodgers are, they deferred this money. They built this super team, and all this crap that the Yankees have always been given for buying their teams and blah blah blah. I hope the MLB chokes on the Dodgers not making it to the World Series. I don't know if it's going to happen because the Mets are killing themselves right now and they have to win 2 more games. And, today's game 162 technically, and then they have a doubleheader tomorrow. But I want a Subway Series, World Series more than anything. I just want it injected straight into my veins. But I don't think it's going to happen at this point. So I guess I'll just take whoever we get.
I'm with you. As a native New Yorker, I'm all here for it. I want that Subway Series. I want that repeat of the start of the millennium against them. And so, yeah, and we'll see. The Mets have some work to do to get there. We'll see what happens Monday, tomorrow. But yeah, that's what I really want as well. And I think that did it for. I think. Oh, and I low key have Wells in the doghouse only because how dare he? He's been so hot for so long, and this slump it really just has to end now, like today.
Yeah.
Let's give the Pirates the win, but let's have Wells be the one that puts the runs on the board, just so I could feel better. It would be a personal favor to me. Yeah, I mean 4 for 45 as of last night by my count. So, yeah, it's a slump, but like kind of good that he got it out of the way. So maybe he doesn't even belong there. Um, so yep, and we got a lot of people hungry for the World Series in there, for the Subway Series. Just real quick about the Down Dogs, because I'm putting it up closer to the top of the show because there's one of great impact from yesterday. Let's talk about Rizzo for a second.
I'm gonna
Not
need
the
my
name you
tissues.
want to see. What?
I said I'm gonna need my tissues for this.
I know. I mean, not the name you want on this list ever. Not that we want any name on this list ever, but with that fractured finger, say that. I can't even say it once. Um, he's. Let's face it. We're really not all that likely to see him in the postseason, despite what Boone says. Like tossing this off like it's a pain related injury, um and we could still see him next week. um that's pretty bad news there. um
Yeah.
and yep, and I see some early talk up above about the bullpen and the rotation in general, which I think is going to be another hot topic of ours. We're really not clear about Cortez. And so when he comes back, what do we do with him if he comes back? They're saying maybe October 14th. Um, and so that's an open question. Jake Cousins was doing a really good job for us in the pen. When are we getting him back? And yeah, and other than Brubaker, who I don't even remember when we saw him. Um, why are we even talking about him? I put him in there. It's like, why am I putting him in here?
We've never seen Drew Bigger.
Yeah.
We traded for him when he was injured, and listen. He better not come back and be on the postseason roster in any of these rounds because that would just be absolute BS. Because I don't know who this guy is. I don't know what he can do, and it would just annoy me at that point. But when it comes to Rizzo, it is absolutely heartbreaking to see him have to go through another injury. And I'm so sick of seeing people say he's injury prone because all of three of these injuries that he's had recently, from the concussion to the broken arm to this, are completely out of his control. Like, it's not like he could have stretched better. It's not like he could have worked out any harder. Literally, these are freak accidents. And Rizzo, like, post concussion has not been the same. And we've talked about this many, many times. But when he came back from this most recent arm fracture, his infield defense is what we needed, and he showed up right away. And he's been hitting the ball a lot better too. And not for nothing, the guy gets on base, whether it's working a walk or getting hit by a pitch. Like, that's very underrated. So it's kind of devastating to see this happen, especially since he is getting older. You don't know how many years he has left in his career. And honestly, we don't know if he'll be a Yankee next season. The Yankees could opt out of his contract at this point. I was really hoping to see a Judge and Rizzo World Series. So we'll see what happens, but it's just sad.
Yeah, and I was corrected that it's two fractured fingers. And so and yeah, so Maza agrees. I think we all agree. And like I was saying before we jumped on Ciarra, if possible, I would love to see him get some appearances. I just don't see him being the first baseman. Um, but that I could be very wrong about that too. And regardless, it is sad. This guy, legendary and beloved, has had a really bad run health wise toward for the past several years. And this was just a real slap in the face, because he was almost there. He worked so hard to get his way back into the season, and this it just make sense, God. I see Uncle Tats slid in here. Hey Tats. Not on a boat, what's up with that?
He's on his way to the game.
Okay. All right, so let's see let's see the hot dogs. Okay, so and by the way, in the chat, CR, if you're not seeing it, people haven't moved on from the Dominguez
Oh, I see it.
Verdugo debate. I think that I think that this is gonna be the hot takes and the hot dog. This is gonna be the whole chat. So Li and Fortrain are duking it out, but and I think it's polarizing. I think there's arguments for both sides, but and maybe we won't ever agree on it. But okay, and Raziel made it in. Good to see you. All right, so who's your hot dogs?
My first hot dog is going to be Cody Poteet, even though the Yankees sent him right back down. 3.1 innings pitched, only gave up 1 run, and had 3 strikeouts after, he hasn't been here in what feels like 700 days. He looked pretty damn good on that mound, in my opinion. And I think if he had started over Stroman, we would have won that game.
Yep, I could definitely pick up on that. Jazz, you and I have the same hot dog. Yeah, Jazz. If it wasn't for Jazz, we wouldn't have had half the runs we got yesterday and the day before. I think Jazz, has been the most consistent that we've seen across the lineup, and it gets missed because he's not the big name and the big guy. But he's been very consistent, and we need, Birdie's back up. Birdie's been meh with his performance. So I guess I'm kind of bleeding into a hot take, but I don't think it really is such a hot take. He really needs to be the third baseman. And Birdie's going to be the discussion. I even though we didn't see him this series, I have Weaver as a hot dog. Just because of, and maybe we need to have a new segment called, Yankees Spotlight of the Week. But, Weaver really has crept up into the closer role. And I'm sure it's even surprised him. So I think getting here to the Yankees was a surprise to begin with. But as a journeyman, but I don't think he's journeying any further. I think he's found his home. I think that with the demise and downslide of Holmes, he's really stepped up, and he's struck out 19. Last season he had 19.4% of hitters that he struck out. This year it's 30.4%. And that's the largest increase in the major. So for that, I'm calling Weaver a hot dog, and I want him to be our closer as of now for the postseason.
Yeah, baseball aside, I love Luke Weaver. He's so freaking sassy, and I just love that about him. I don't know what it is, but he just cracks me up. And honestly, I think Canely as the setup man and Weaver as the closer is the best case scenario in those late inning close games. Or, if Jay Cousins makes his way back, I think Cousins and Weaver could be interchangeable. But Weaver has been just fantastic for us.
Yeah, 100%. So whatever happens to Holmes, well, I don't know, Raziel, if he goes to Siberia or not, but he's gonna be down in the eighth inning. I think that's the closest he'll get to closing, if not further down. So, and then I'm gonna let you have the last one.
So I have no surprise to anybody, Giancarlo Stanton as a hot dog, because without Stanton, would we have clinched the AL East the day that we did? 4 RBIs, 1 solo shot, and a bases clearing double. And I know there was Yankees fans out there saying they wanted Stanton off this team, that he was clogging up the lineup. And I will not forget it, okay? Because if he did not go down for a month, Stanton would be the comeback player of the year. 27 home runs. He missed a month of baseball. Like, come on now. There's guys who have played all season who aren't at 27 home runs. Stanton deserves all his flowers and all the love. So I'm celebrating him today, even if it was just one game where he played very well. I can't wait to see postseason Stanton. October looks very good on him, and I'm ready for it.
Yeah, and I'm going to add in there that he's not just like ball killer Stanton. Let's remember how much, doubles and singles we've seen out of Stanton this season. So, he's been contributing in that way as well. So he's much more all around than we've thought of him for the postseason. ready for the postseason. And so, I'm always going to be with you. Anything Stanton. Yep. So, both Mazza and Jared reminded me about Ian Hamilton. So between Cousins, Weaver, and Hamilton, that's a solid trio to feel good about for the
Yeah,
late innings.
I
Uh,
agree. And I think if we bring up Cody Poteet and throw him in there too, like that's just such a solid bullpen, right? Like that's best case scenario. We have some really bad pitchers and then we have some really good ones. So we got to figure out how we're going to make that work.
Speaking of bad pitchers, yeah, may
He's
we
back.
never see Mark Leiter again.
He's back today.
Oh my
He's
lord!
back from the paternity list, so he's back from bragging about his.
Oh, have another baby already!
Can you get DFA'd, please? Go spend some time with your child.
Oh my gosh!
You can go
All
join
right.
Renaccio in Chicago.
Oh, and this will win you some favor. Cody Poteet the closer. Are you saying that just for Ciarra?
I don't know if I see Poteet as a closer. I think he has the stuff to be a starter, but I wouldn't mind him as like a long relief pitcher because he has the stuff to do it. But I don't know. Also, I saw someone mention Garrett Cole in here, and I just want to know opinions on this. So Garrett Cole this season, right, versus the Mets and Red Sox through 4 games, so 18.1 innings pitched, he has 23 earned runs, an 11.29 ERA, and has given up 8 home runs. However, versus everybody else that he's faced this season, so 13 games, 76.2 innings. He has a 1.53 ERA and has given up 3 home runs. What is his deal with Boston and the Mets? Why can he not get out of his own head against these two teams? Because that is a wild difference. 11 something ERA to a 1.53. That's insane. It's a good thing we don't see Boston in the postseason because that would probably be an automatic L if Cole was on the mound.
Yeah. Wow. Hope he's not listening.
Sorry, Garrett.
Boy, you would get that glare. You would get that cold glare. Maybe even the dance move. Remember, 4-point swipe. Okay. I'm gonna make a trend across the nation. All right. So going on right to the hot takes, and who was it up above that read my notes before we jumped on the show? I believe it was Gregory. Yeah, so here's my hot take. All things being what they pretend to be for Rizzo, lock Cabrera down at first base. This guy all season has shown himself to be more than a platoon player. Give him a home, give him a bag of his own, and let him just own it, because he has been consistent wherever they plop him, and numbers by numbers, he's producing on par with some of the ones that we're bowing to all the time. So I trust him fully in the postseason. So Cabrera for the postseason.
Yeah, I think Cabrera would be a great option for the postseason. And I know LI and other Yankees fans want to see Ben Rice come back up here, but I just don't think he's ready. And I was an advocate for Ben Rice. I love seeing him here, but he's doing very well in the minors. Let him stay there. Let him come up next season. It's not his time right now. Cabrera has earned his spot on this postseason roster. Cabrera brings a glove for every position with him every day. He is a kid who has put in the work, and he will go where he's told to go, and he will play his heart out. And he plays pretty damn good defense anywhere you put him. So I agree. Let him take first base. I don't hate that option. For me, because I know there's a lot of conversations around this right now, Aaron Judge is about to have the best postseason of his entire career. There is no way he put up the numbers he put up this season and just falls off a cliff. There's no way. It cannot happen. He's going to carry it over to the postseason. He has a week of rest or whatever. He just needs to be taking reps in the batting cage, and he'll be good to go. I think we're going to see Aaron Judge in a way that we've never seen him before, and he's going to carry us to the World Series.
Yeah, and plus, I'm bad with math and numbers, but I do believe this is going to be the first postseason with him as officially our captain. And so captains are what captain, he's the captain's, definition of captains in the dictionary, and I do think that he is going to feel the weight of this on his shoulders and carry the team through. And so I'm fully in agreement with that. We're, he got, look, he got to 58 home runs. If we had more games in the season, I mean, he was pretty damn close to at least, tying his own record. So I'm
Could
all
you
for that.
imagine? Could you imagine if he didn't have the April that he had? Like historically, he starts slow, right? But this was like the worst April he's ever had. Could you imagine if he didn't start that way, where he would be at right now? Because he has put up video game numbers, and even when he went through a mini slump recently, he's still better than everyone else in the league. He and Ohtani are so close to being Triple Crown winners, and there hasn't been one since 2012 with Miguel Cabrera. Like, that's pure insanity. So if Judge doesn't continue that into the postseason, it needs to be studied because there's no way someone falls off like that.
Right. Agreed. And there's plenty of hot takes to add on here from the chat. I'm going to take this one that's burning my fingers because this is the hottest take. I uh, so okay, just putting it up on the screen because it's
All right, Li,
on light.
I'm gonna need Li to save that type of conversation for Twitter Spaces, because why would we put Juan Soto at first base? Like, he doesn't even have. And look, please, nobody take this as me trashing Soto, because I've said this all season. I love Soto, but he is not the best defender. What makes you think he's going to play good first base defense if he can't play good right field defense? There's no way.
Yep, agree. And yeah, let's keep him where he is. Let's not disorient anyone we don't need to disorient. So and Spencer, and others were agreeing about Cabrera. And right, Spencer, thank you. I meant to say this. He's had playoff experience and was clutch in the playoffs in 2022. So yeah, absolutely. So glad. Motion carried. Cabrera for first base. We'll definitely see him in the postseason. So let's see if we have anybody out there. Yep. So yeah, and Sean's saying, "Hey, Sean, if I didn't say hi when you came in, good to see you." The Titanic trio. I like that. I'm gonna remember that one. Yeah, Judge Soto, Stanton, and I think there's a larger family than this trio. I think we're gonna see some clutch things. I think Wells is going to get hot again. I think Jazz is going to shine.
I think October looks really good on Gleyber Torres. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, his name had to be mentioned. Ciarra is here.
Right? I haven't said it all day. Like, I had to.
Absolutely. No, I'm saying I'm sorry it took us most of the way through the show to even mention his name. So, Gleyber, Gleyber, this isn't a hot take. I really should have put him in the hot dogs. And because he has been unexpectedly great as the leadoff hitter. Really rose to the occasion. I think maybe we already mentioned that in the prior show.
Did you know that right now, in the MLB, players with 50 or more plate appearances as a leadoff hitter, Gleyber has the highest average of everybody this season. So whatever was going on in the first half of the season, he's really turned it around in the second half. And I know Yankees fans are still kind of over him, but you got to give credit where credit's due. The guy has stepped up, and traditionally speaking, he plays well in the postseason. So now, if Judge continues what he's on, you have Stanton, who plays well. We've never seen Soto as a Yankee in the postseason, but his numbers speak for themselves, and he has a World Series ring, right? Like, he's been there. Now you add in Jazz Chisholm, who, like, to your point, has been the most consistent guy probably in the lineup at this point. And then you add in, you have Wells, who maybe doesn't have as much experience, but he's been great behind the plate for us thus far. We have the best opportunity right now to win the World Series, and I'm so excited. Like, I haven't been excited like this about the Yankees postseason in a long time. I'm ready for it.
Yeah, so ready for it and feeling so good about it. And I'm so glad I got my wish that it wasn't through the wild card. This was like legit, and and that mid season where we were feeling so disoriented and didn't know what would happen. To be sitting here is like the best possible feeling. And I missed Demon D when they came in, and OG the boss. Great to see you here. Happy to have you here with us on the upper deck. So let's see where that takes us now. Um, well, so let's talk about the farm. Not much going on at the farm, but as we saw yesterday, they brought Will Warren up. What the hell with that, Ciara?
So, the way I see it is the Yankees are just punting the last 3 games of the season, just kind of saving everyone's arms, giving them the rest. Because why? I guess why risk injuring anybody you actually need in the postseason when you don't have to? We've already clinched everything, so if we can get swept today, it really wouldn't matter. So I'm going to go with that they were just thinking about the postseason. Because Will Warren, I'm sorry if your mom is listening to this, but I am over the Will Warren experience. I do not want to see him in pinstripes next season. Please find a way to trade him
No.
or send him to Alaska. I don't know. Do something.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be such a great package to have to put Leiter and Warren and tie them in a bow and put them in part of a trade deal, but might have to pay for that to happen. But we shouldn't see either one of them again in pinstripes. I completely agree with you. And yep, and Eunice, yeah, thank you. I do remember 78, and I do remember that. Yep, and so thanks for tying in the older generation memories with Rice has to be more patient. He was good and he slowed down, and he'll be back. I just don't see him coming back up until next year. So and what is so to you she's saying.
I get it. I do. I get it. But I am going to. My brain is going a million miles per minute because I'm super excited for the postseason. If I'm wrong, I will eat my words later on. But right now, in my mind, we've already won the World Series. Like I'm already popping the champagne. Giancarlo Stanton has already been deemed World Series MVP.
Yeah. All right. Well, you know what? Sometimes you have to dream it, and for it to manifest. So, we're always going to the negative side of things. I'm always mismanage your expectations. You know what? But I'm not managing any expectations. My expectation is exactly what you just said. We deserve to be where we are. um I firmly believe that although it's thanks to the Guardians that we have the best record in the AL, over time, and stats be damned, we are the top of the AL, and we're soon going to prove that we're top of MLB. So I am 100% in on that. um and the I have Spencer's trivia question up. We'll get to the answer in a second, but I just have to get it off my chest that my biggest concern leaving everybody today is just pitching in general. Um, I'm worried about the rotation, other than the closers. Not as worried about the bullpen, but Nestor isn't even back yet. Schmidt hasn't been exactly what we need. Rodon we've already been through. Cole has had his moments. And so what I just wish I felt better um about the starting rotation.
I do have my doubts about the pitching. I mean, Carlos Rodon, I'm worried about him giving up home runs and hitting batters. Marcus Stroman, I'm worried. I don't know, man. Stroman has to get it together. I love the guy, but he's killing me. I'm not worried about Schmidt. I think that he's just the injury. It just took him a little time to ramp up, and I think he'll be okay. Reaper kind of threw me off with their comment because I don't think anybody ever mentioned that they were worried about Luis Heel. He's probably the one pitcher I'm not worried about at this point. And then when it comes to Garrett Cole, I think the numbers speak for themselves. As long as we don't play the Mets or the Red Sox, he'll be okay.
Right. And we're not playing the Red Sox, so that's half done.
So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. And so just hopefully, I mean, we just have to rely on those top two, and Stroman, hopefully this week and what they plan to do with it will just involve narrowing in on those things that need the most adjusting. I'm really hoping that there's a base running clinic. And I'm not even saying that tongue
and Glaber.
Walter, Soto, Glaber, and really anyone could use that. I really hope it's a week of fundamentals more than anything. Yeah, and fundamentals at the plate and defense. Like we talked about earlier. Even though right now it's just a couple of players, how about just really, being patient at the plate? These first swings are killing us, and so little patience at the plate. Take a look at your base coaches. They're there for a reason. If you don't see them going like this, maybe think about going. And all those fundamental kind of things. The greatest team in baseball needs to think about fundamentals too. And so it's time to, go back to kindergarten a little bit this week. That's what that's what I'd like to think is going to happen as part of the week.
I mean, I'm with you. The thing that I'm most worried about in the postseason is our defense, specifically our infield defense. And I'm talking to Glaber, right? Like as his biggest fan, I'm talking directly to him. Do not embarrass me in the postseason. Don't do it to me. Okay. I'm also talking to Volpe because without Rizzo at first base, who knows how Volpe's going to look? We got to give Rizzo credit for saving a lot of bad throws by Volpe. And I'm talking to the outfield. If Jason Dominguez is in the outfield, please get it together. And you're right. Base running, we can't make these base running mistakes in the postseason. But also, Luis Rojas, he's got to go next year. He's the worst third base coach in history, in my personal opinion. I don't think the team respects him, and I don't think he's good at his job. So let's hope that we just get it together this week and we go into that first series a totally mentally clear, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah, and I guess I don't know about that. No, I think Volpe needs to stick with what he knows, and just needs some polishing up. And his bat, for crying out loud, just figure that out too. We got to get him readjusted again for like the third time this season. He's been a little bit. He needs an extended warranty on going to the mechanic because he really just has not been what we expected. At least in my point of view with his bat, especially the second half of the season. So, and yeah, a better coaching staff, period. And yeah, and the fundamentals, 100%. And actually, John, I wasn't criticizing Rawson or Blake because I think that they're really good coaches, but let's look at what we're really zeroing in on, and make those drills like low level spring training. I'm auditioning you for the job drills, and have some moments on that, and then go to the to the sim games and the other things that they might have planned. But I really, really hope they get their head in the fundamentals game because it's been lacking, and from some of the great players that we rely on. So I have a typo on this week's trivia question of the week. So, we didn't have any technical glitches computer wise, internet wise. So, here's Lynn, making a boo boo on Spencer's question. So it's right there on the screen. Spencer, this was if you're still with us, hardest question ever, not just this season. And so, Spencer is saying that today is the last game of the 2024 season, as we know. Um, and October 5th, 2012, 20, nope, I almost read it. Listen, October 5th, 1912. It makes a difference. 1912, okay, was the last game for the New York Highlanders. And it was also the last season with their name because they then became the New York Yankees the following season. The Highlanders won that game against the Washington Nationals with a score of 8-6. Who was the last batter for the New York Highlanders? Did anyone Google? Did anyone phone a friend who actually knew this?
Does
Um,
anyone know anybody who was alive in 1912?
yeah. Know this. I'm sure I'm even going to screw up his name. Um, Okay, write this name down, everybody. The man, the legend, Jack Lelevelt, hit a single, which ultimately then led to one of the two RBIs that had them win the game that year. So 1912 is when the New York Highlanders became the New York Yankees. And let's all just say hi up in heaven to Jack Lelavet
I
and
mean,
thank him.
wasn't Uncle Tats alive in 1912? Maybe he knew.
Oh, is Uncle Tat still in the chat? Um,
Just kidding.
yeah, and what makes it even worse is, I could be Uncle Tats's aunt by years. So I'm the oldest person, dare I say, in the chat and and for sure in Pinstripe Chronicles. So um I'll wear that gray haired crown and take it off of you, Tats. Um and Raziel, you're right. Yeah, it just doesn't have the same ring. Let's go, Highlanders. I mean, yeah, it just doesn't. Yeah, thank goodness it changed. Um, and Ciarra, any final words before we go?
Yeah. Clark Schmidt's pitching today, so I'm sure he'll look good, but who knows what this lineup is going to look like. Maybe Li will get a switch and Soto will play first base and Cabrera will play catcher. Like, it's the Yankees aren't playing to win anything today, so please don't get your hopes up. Anybody, don't let this game stress you out. It's not that serious. We play in October and we're playing to win. In the words of Giancarlo Stanton, because this was the best thing he's ever said in an interview, he was asked, "Are you the team to beat in the postseason?" And he said, and I quote, "Yes, is that not the point?" So,
Yes. Boom. Um, so it's going to be an empty week of no baseball. My final thoughts are, everything I just said. I'm glad they're getting a little off time. And I don't care if they win today. I say be kind to the Pirates. Let them sail off with that under their season belt. And yeah, I live for next week. I live for next week's show, where I think we'll know a lot more about, what we could expect when we launch on the week of the 5th. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Rizzo and who goes down, who comes up. Mr. Barrow sneaking in the back door at the last minute. Good to see you. Oh, Gregory, you want that win? Okay. I'm with you on that. I'm just saying this is the time to say, I can relax a little bit. We already lost the series, but we've already won everything else. So, give the dog the bone. All right. So I want to mention there's our friend Four Train in the chat. If you don't follow his channel, make sure to follow Four Train and catch his show. Four Train, make sure Maza put in the chat when they could catch you and your show. And for all of you, remember our Pinstripe Chronicles bros. You all know this, but there's might be some people that are listening that do not. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10 a.m. live. You got to catch Tats, Donald, and Rob, who come in hot every time with the takes. And Ciarra and me, just like now, every Sunday live at 11. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. I want to thank all the newcomers we saw today. I love the family growing. And as always, you'll have a reserved seat with Ciarra and me right here on the upper deck. Let's go Yankees and see you next Sunday.